Ladies and gentlemen, the only place to be every Saturday morning when we launch this episode, Battle Scars Podcast. My brother, the man, the myth, the legend, Supersonic, One Take, TK. Of course, I am the emotional meatball Rocky Stucci. And behind the glass over there, we have our brother at arms.
Beautiful Ron Phillips.
Beautiful. He is looking, actually, you know, I did notice that when I first walked in today.
Yeah, or sexy Ron Phillips, whichever way you want to go.
Yep. Or Ronnie. You know, you started a thing
Sexy
on the
Ronnie.
show. You started a thing. But anyways, folks, don't forget, join the podcast. It's battlescarspodcast.com. All the video, all the audio. And, of course, go to the tab that says blog. Because right there, you're going to find all the past shows, the articles of the guests, all their links, and the video and audio of all the shows. So please support us. Like, follow, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Brother, I'm going to tell you something. When you meet somebody, and when you shake their hand, and it automatically makes you feel like you're in the stockyards wrestling with the Longhorn, you know, we're on for an interview, brother.
Yeah,
so Jared Smith joined the program.
Jared
we were
Smith.
talking a guard, but he was telling us some defensive end stuff or some center stuff or some. Brother Jared, thank you for
Take
joining
us
us.
into
man.
all this. Give us a little background on you besides being Super Bowl champ.
I'm Jared Smith. I'm from Pennsylvania. I grew up in a really small town. You know, my whole journey of getting to playing in the NFL was just, you know, a blessing in itself. I mean, it's just something I never really expected. You know, it's just it happened.
You ever been to Gettysburg?
I did. Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think? What is it, surreal?
I'll go up there, but you know, when it comes to the haunting kind of stuff, you know, I don't go up there when it's dark. You know, I'm just.
So you know, Rocky and Ron, they have another show they do called Paranormal, and so they love to go ghost hunt.
Well, as long as this is something.
I have a story for you about Gettysburg about that.
Oh, let's go right into it. Let's
go,
just
brother.
start right there.
Dude,
Then.
I am super excited right now. Rod, look at Rod over there.
Yeah, so I mean, we stayed up at. I remember the one time we were in college. We one of my friends thought it was funny to, you know, we should go stay at this inn. It's known for it being spooky.
Is it where the girl got shot through the wall and she died and she was pregnant?
Yeah, that was that. Yeah, that was it. So and so I was I'm always hesitant about this stuff because I'm just like, hey, you believe whatever you believe, you know, whatever. You know, I was like, you're not going to see anything, you know. They're just so adamant that they believe in this stuff. And so we're I was laying in my room, laying on the edge of bed. Everyone was about to get out and go on this tour. We take horses out and you go on these trail rides. And it was a blast. But before we went down, everyone else went out. I went down, and the lady made cookies. Made sure I was the last one out so I can just load up.
Right.
And her cookies smelled great because she was baking them the whole time, and I can smell them. I'm just like, my stomach's just eating itself.
Right.
And so everyone else went out, and I didn't know I was the very last one. I went there, and that damn plate's gone. And I'm like, where is it? I turn around, I look back at the kitchen counter, and it just smashed on the thing.
Yep.
And I packed up my stuff and left.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yeah, quick backstory. Just so people know where he was at. This is probably one of the most visited locations in Gettysburg.
Yes.
It was where there was a family. It was a lady. She was pregnant, and she was actually helping soldiers. They were bringing the soldiers, wounded soldiers, to this family. There's a whole bunch. You know, there's a lot of things about Gettysburg we don't hear about, and it's a lot of things that the civilians were doing and helping the wounded. It was incredible.
Well, they didn't have sides because they didn't want to be killed. So they were like,
that's right.
They were helping hand in
What a
any
confusing
side.
time, you know?
Yeah.
But
for
so
sure.
so what happened was that there was a sniper, and the sniper was shooting at either the north or the south. I can't remember which side it was. And the bullet went through the wall, and she got shot and she died. There are EVPs. There are recordings of her voice coming forward and saying she was pregnant, that she was, very intelligent stuff. But Gettysburg is a mixed breed of a lot of different things. So I always tell people, tread carefully on what you're playing with there.
Yeah, I packed my bags up.
I'm with you, bro. I would have been the same way. I wouldn't even have went. I'd have been like, y'all have fun, I'm out.
Yeah, I just, because I knew for a fact no one was playing games with me. I was the only one in the house. Everyone was outside. I made sure of it, and I just literally and I just had, those those goosebumps on the back of my. I mean, it was there for like probably a day.
I'm just proud you actually went back upstairs and got your stuff out, because I'd have been like, just bring my stuff with you. Like, I'm out of here.
I kind of played it off really cool, kind of to a point where I was like, you know what, nothing will happen. I'll just go and get my stuff. I played it real cool, but I was
kept telling yourself like,
it's okay.
Breathe, just keep breathing.
As soon as I got out with all my stuff, I'm like, what just happened?
Yeah. I can tell you a lot of stories where I was going to play it cool and then I didn't. But I just I want to end on this and with that conversation is that, you know, I've been doing that for over 12 years. And when I started doing it, I didn't have a relationship with God. And it was my experiences through the paranormal that actually reacquainted me with my relationship. Because I'll tell you something, if that exists, that exists.
It was
pretty.
It's eye opening, but it's gotten to a point where it's so spooky. It's just like talking about it, just kind of
absolutely
because you don't know if that's it could be anywhere.
There's some weird things happening in our bathroom here. Ron was just telling me our bathroom here. Ron, tell me right now. You were just saying it because I came from the bathroom just now. I'm like, brother, I was in the bathroom and every hair on my body just. stood up.
You get a freaky feeling back in that hole back there.
Back in the hole. So do you need to go to the bathroom real quick?
No,
I'll use the one downstairs. I'll use the one at the gas station next door.
You know, I want to ask you something, brother. Again, folks, Jared Smith joining the program.
Super Bowl champ, if you can't see it blinging.
I was going to ask you for your glasses. It's pretty bright in here with all that bling going on in the finger. But, brother, you know, I played semi-pro for 2 years, which is irrelevant compared to the level you were at. But I understand the reasoning why I was on the field, and it was personal. One thing about football players, folks, is that from second, third grade, they go their entire life. Through high school, through college, through professionals, from morning till night, your diet, your training, everything revolves around football. It's your career. Then the day comes where, boom, done. And your entire life changes as you know it. There's no more training, no more practice, no more meetings, no more, none of that. It's just different. Now, what do you do? And a lot of players that we've talked to had some huge struggles.
Oh, yeah, it's tough because you have all these gains of experiences, you know, like you're in the league for, 3 to however many years you're in there. You're not gaining any real world experience. Now, granted, the NFLPA does offer a lot of programs to help people to, take that step up that people don't take. I mean, let's just be honest. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity that I took, and it just, a lot of people don't take them because it's, back when I was playing, it just, when practice was over, you go hang out, kind of party a little bit, kind of a thing. It was never.
You got your certain nights that you go out on. And
like you can see a lot of the guys that were 1 to 3 years were just it was that. But the guys that I studied were the guys that been in it for 10 plus years.
Right, the older guys.
Yeah, like Earl Thomas, Max Unger, a lot of those guys. I was just so focused on just kind of watching them because these guys were just. They were so good at it. And there's a reason why they had so much, they played for so long. Right. But they created something off of the field. Right. And that attracted me because I know from the very get-go when I played, I never saw myself playing for any longer than, 3 months to a year.
Right.
So I was like, okay, I need, take advantage of this and make as many connections as I can. That was immediately my goal. But because I was a defensive tackle D end, I got drafted. I went to the NFL Combine as a defensive tackle D end. I went to the Combine, did great. I got drafted as a center in the 7th round. Never snapped the ball
by the Seahawks, correct?
By the Seahawks.
What was it? You were talking about that before we started when you said that you never snapped a ball and they did a position
never played
change.
Offensive line in my life.
So you want to talk about? My goodness, think about that. So nothing that you never honed your skills in on, right? And they're saying, okay, I'm putting you here. Now you need to make the team.
Yeah, it's definitely. I kind of felt I was kind of screwed from the very get-go, because I had my whole life has been just defense tackle D end. I've been. Trying to hurt people my whole life kind of thing,
Bro, I just got you.
Yeah,
I'm trying to hurt people my whole life, like in the face.
It's just like, because, as a defense tackle, like, as we are, like, we're always taught, like, the first string running back, first string quarterback, the first string, like, those guys aren't as, the second string guys aren't as good as those guys. So you're trying to take those guys out. You're winning a game.
Eliminate a first stringer and you're good.
Yeah. So we're just like, our goal is just like, you're trying to hurt people. I mean, not intentionally, but you're trying to.
You're going to make
if
sure
you're
they
gonna
get beat
you're
on.
gonna hit them.
Yeah, you're going to make sure they get beat on as the game goes.
It is intentional, bro. Because when I was playing, there was nothing more I wanted was to hear that pop.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I
it's
mean, you never try to hurt them. One thing my dad always told me and my brothers growing up is like, look, you always want to make sure you're the one hitting hardest.
Yeah.
Right. So at every time you're, whether I was playing fullback or linebacker or whatever growing up, it was always you want to be the one delivering.
Yeah, I mean, I was always taught as a kid. Never watched it on TV as much. We didn't have we didn't watch it on TV very much. I was outside fishing, hunting most of my life, but I was always taught to you want people to know who you are.
Right.
And by hitting them, they will not forget.
Correct. And they're going to be a little bit more timid running in that direction
next time. Yeah, and for sure. And obviously you'll have to overcome struggles with double teams and all that kind of stuff. But
is this bad that this conversation is like literally warming my heart
it
right
is.
now? Bro?
It does to me every single time. I know. Because it's just always it's always like when you make a play, you just that crowd and the feel and the adrenaline.
Well, you're in the Gladiator Dome, right?
Yeah.
So even at a high school level, or and I know up in Pennsylvania too, it's big. High school football is like Texas almost.
Yeah.
I mean, it's huge
absolutely.
up there in the Northeast.
Yeah, I mean, everything was just straight up. My
from your
whole
big,
life
from your
was
Big
just
Ten, the whole Big Ten up there, your Penn States, your Michigans, your Ohio States, so it's huge up there like it is down here in Texas. A lot of people don't realize that.
It is. I mean, obviously, it's a lot bigger here, especially with high school. There's just so much money funding a lot of these schools, and it's eye opening seeing how big some of these stadiums. I mean, I was in the Texas versus Nation game that they have here in Allen.
Yeah,
and that was my first time really in Texas to kind of seeing an actual stadium, and that was mind opening.
The $60 million stadium.
Yeah, it was just bigger than. I went to University of New Hampshire, and it was called a dungeon because it was it wasn't. Obviously, they called that because it's obviously not great.
Right.
They use crayons on the field to draw the lines.
It's funny because my little brother, when he was a defensive coordinator for Southwest Baptist University up in Springfield area, and he'd be down here recruiting kids, and he was like, "Man, it's so hard to come to Texas and recruit because their facilities, their uniforms, their everything is so much better than ours."
Spoiled.
At the high school level, let alone a division or NAIA school, right?
Yep.
And he's like, it's so hard to get the best kids because when they go visit a D1, obviously, and that's what most of Texas high schools are, D1 of high school,
for sure,
right? So it's definitely a different animal here. So
I mean, I can see that. I mean, most of these Allen schools and Prosper, all these guys, Frisco schools. I mean, it's a downgrade when you go to college. I mean, it really is, depending if you're good enough to go somewhere really high. But I mean, I was fortunate enough. My high school. I mean, it was rough.
Hey, folks, on the program with us, Jared Smith, right here, former Seattle Seahawk, former Atlanta Falcons, but most of all, former freaking Dallas Cowboy. You know what I'm talking about? And, of course, Super Bowl champion. You can see the bling on the ring. I do got a question for you because I remember when I was playing and I had a highlighted moment. And I remember because my father being a part of me playing semi-pro was a big part of my healing of life. Sure. I was going through something and football was super important. And when I talk about being on the field and that aggression, that was my healing, brother.
Agreed.
And so when I was playing a game in St. Cloud, we did not win a game that year yet. I was a defensive end or outside linebacker, cornerback, and I had the game-saving tackle. And my dad was literally 30 feet away from me. And I remember when the team came running onto the field, and everybody surrounded me, and the game ball and everything. But the most important thing, it wasn't the team at the time. It was my dad witnessing that.
Yeah.
What was your most profound moment?
My dad has never been in my life. I mean, in the earlier stages he was, but later wasn't there. My uncle was probably one of the guys that I look forward to kind of being there. So with him there, it definitely meant a lot. I mean, my mom went to every single game. I mean, she's never missed anything. But when my uncle was always there, it really meant it really.
So he's
meant
more
a
the
lot.
male role model in your life.
He is. Yeah, he is. Yeah, for sure.
Is that your mom's brother or is that your dad's son?
My dad's brother. It's my dad's identical twin.
No kidding.
Ironically,
no kidding,
bro.
Yeah.
I want people to really understand something that I know we play for us and we have our mission and we do what we do for us. I get it. But people, please understand that some of you, your presence is important to us. You witnessing our accomplishments is important to all of us. So please, I understand you're super busy sometimes. But, people are fighting hard to try to make it all around at all different levels. Please recognize the hard work that they're doing every single day. So brother, I'll tell you something. The reward of football, how do you carry that in life?
I mean, first of all, knowing that my dad was never there for games, I know how that feels. I mean, it sucks.
Empty.
So
you look at stands and you just want one set of eyes looking at you.
I mean, I know my mom's up there with cowbell and all that kind of stuff, which is great, But it's just like just that.
Face all painted up.
Yeah, it's just that that missing part. Because when I was in the early stages, he's the one that got me into football, and me and my brother were the only ones playing it. We're just in the backyard playing ball and. And, ever since I was 9, he was no longer in there. So, it's rough. So, I think what it helped me is to become a better dad because I have 2 kids now, and my 4-year-old is now playing, coach pitch. And, I'll never miss a game. I won't. I don't care how little it is. I'll do everything I can to not miss a game.
Because you empathize on the emptiness.
Yeah, because I know I've been there. She may not. I just hope and pray to God that she'll never experience that feeling because I just never want to. I will never do that, and I know what that's like.
Even with my own kids, we kind of went through that because I'm always there. But when I was in corporate America, and I went,
tough.
I was basically West Fort Worth where we live, but North Dallas is where we're at, right? So when you're trying to get home in time to catch a game in the evening, and probably the best thing happened to me, I'll be coming up on 15 years June 2nd when I finally was like, I'm done with the corporate world. I'm going on my own. And then all of a sudden you're not making the fourth quarter. You're there pregame, dropping them off at school, picking them up from school at all the practices, and just enjoying, right? And I know my oldest was going into 8th grade at that time. And it was just kind of a perfect timing for us personally as a family because, again, even having your dad there, he's that fourth quarter guy showing up, calling my wife on the way, what's the stats, keep me updated, I'm on my way. Or, showing up at a baseball game in the 7th, 8th, 9th inning, how's Bub been pitching or what's he hitting right now, da-da-da-da. So it's just, I definitely understand that as a dad, and that's probably the one thing that as parents, especially dads, you work real hard to try to give your family everything. Yeah. But the reality is the number one thing your family wants is just you, right? They just want you more than anything, right? More than the Game Boys and Nintendos and the big TVs and all the things, material things you think that's going to, I'm working hard to give my kid material things. The reality is your presence is more important to your kids growing up. So, so any of the listeners out there, I would definitely, I know for me personally, luckily I was very young still at that point to go, I'm making this move. My kids were still relatively young, that it was like, okay, you know what, forget the money. Like we're going this direction. So your first preseason, you get drafted by the Seattle Seahawks. What round you get drafted?
7th.
So you're right there.
I was picked 242.
Okay, so you weren't Mr. Irrelevant.
No,
so you're pretty close. But so you go to Seahawks. You've never played a down playing center, which again, like people just
I got a call from my coach Tom Cable. He called me. He said, what would you do to be able to play? I was like, listen, I'll be kicker for God's sake.
Right.
And that's the answer he was looking for because I didn't know he was looking for me to be center.
Right.
I didn't know that.
Right.
Apparently that's what made that connection with him.
Do you know what it was? Was it an agility thing? Was it something that you
had?
So
when I went to, because I asked that too. Because I always ask, is like, why am I here? What did you see in me? Because I don't see it, right? Because I was snapping balls over heads. And, when I was in the combine, I was always top 3 in lateral speed.
Yeah.
I was super, super quick.
I knew it had to be that.
Yeah, I was very, very quick. I was extremely quick, and which made me, once I understood it and got my form down and got everything, and I understood it and it clicked, I understood why.
And as a center, you kind of want to have a defensive line mentality because you're putting out some punishment too. You're not just kind of like blocking. You're up, you're mowing people down.
A little bit. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that after play, like during run block and stuff, that's where your defensive tackle mentality is like you're just trying to
Who's standing around?
everything.
Who's standing around? I'm going to smoke somebody here.
Cornerbacks, smoke them. Anyone.
Who's standing around, baby?
Just looking around to smash somebody.
That's what you're doing.
Oh, for sure.
Once you see that lineman get through, then it's like, okay, now it's my turn.
But, I mean, in the passing stand, that's where I struggle the most because it's a very passive kind of thing. And if you attack, you lose. Because if you lose your balance at all, these defense tackles who play pro, they can feel anything. They can feel the shift of weight. I mean, it's amazing. And being on the other side of it, I mean, I kind of understood it because, if you shifted your way forward, they're pulling you back. And they're going over you. You're lost. Yep. So that was probably one of my biggest ones. But, I mean, obviously, studying, looking at Max Unger and obviously playing here in Dallas and, listen, I mean, I got to see Travis Frederick, who's probably amazing. And Zach Martin is, I mean, the dude's a legend when he comes.
He'll be Hall of Famer for sure.
It's really
100%.
weird. When I was growing up, when my dad was my coach, he taught me something, and I don't know if it's a common thing or not, but I used to always watch the knuckles. So if their knuckles were white, that means they're leaning on their hand. They're going to push forward. If their knuckles were not white, that memes they're going to drop back for pass defense.
Well, you would see white knuckles for sure, but it was third and long. They're definitely coming.
Yeah, they're coming at you.
You would definitely know.
So that's more lower level high school.
Yeah, but a lot of these guys are they'll be in. I mean, they would just be fingers barely on the ground and still come at you, but they're just so fast.
I suppose they learn like playing poker. They know what you're looking for on different. Like you said, you're feel watching, a little shift.
Yeah, you're watching film for hours, and you're just trying to get any kind of competitive edge over that one person by just the littlest things. And that's why it's so hard for me to even watch games at times, it's hard for me to watch games. It took me a long time. I'm kind of getting back into it where I'm not critiquing as much. Right.
So you just enjoy it as a fan now. Like when you first started watching, you just always like, oh my God, look at this. Look at that guy. He missed that. He did this.
I had never watched a full game before.
Really?
After football. Yeah, it's hard for me to watch. It's kind of like, I'm always critiquing it. I always have to have like side conversations or something like that.
But honestly, though, in your defense, though, brother, that's your muscle memory, though. That's how you're programmed over all these years.
Yeah, and I'm deprogramming, and that's just, and I'm getting to a point where it's not becoming a chore because my brain will feel.
TK, if I'm with you, I would rather be hearing him critique a game than some armchair quarterback that's never even walked on a freaking football field.
You ought to come sit and watch a game with me. My wife hates it.
Drinking a Bud Light.
I'm literally like, let me get the freaking headphones on and call the coach because this is ridiculous offensive play here.
My wife she's a huge football fan, and I kind of ruined it for her because she was, I met her in Seattle after my second year, and after I came back from the Super Bowl. I met her actually when my buddy D.O. Hughley, which I know.
Yeah.
And she was on his show. And so he's like, hey, you need to come over to me. So I was like, nah, I'm good.
Because we're gonna get to that too. That your wife is she has a little game too on with in the influencer market and what she does.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
She's but yeah, I mean,
it's one of those where she's kind of like you might need to chase me a little bit, not the other way around. Like.
She is definitely what made me play longer. If it wasn't for her, I was never a fan of it just because of, I've been injured and, all I want to do is fish and hunt. I mean, that's all I want to do.
Right. Hey, respectfully, we were at a golf tournament last weekend. A lot of former professional football players.
I golf all the time.
I was, you watch some of the guys trying to get around that golf course and the long-term injuries these guys.
Well, a lot of those guys from the 70s, played, your Pastorinis and even early 80s, mid 80s of just getting in and out of the golf cart.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
where you see them where they're just, they're by themselves just trying to get out of the cart and then just, like trying to walk over and actually hit a ball. And, and again, the technology, the medical that they had back then compared to now. I mean, I remember hearing a story of Dick Butkus. His knees were so bad, and they'd get so tight over the season that he would, at Bears training camp, there was a place that he would come and put his feet in, like in between two big pipes, and then he'd have somebody push him over the pipes, so his knees, so it would snap, crackle, pop, so they'd start functioning because his knees were so bad and they never had an off season, right? Because back then, literally, like it's almost like when you left school back in the 70s and 80s, like doors closed, you can't use the facilities.
Camp.
Good luck, God bless. We'll see you this fall.
And here's me. I get a runny nose and I die 3 times. You know what I mean,
Yeah, but again, that's how the NFL used to be. Like when you left the facilities, you were not coming back till it was time to go to camp, and the facilities weren't open. I talked to a lot of the old Dallas Cowboys, and they're like, dude, we had to go get jobs. We were car salesmen, because big car sales guys would pay them to come for 3 months and basically come and buy a car, and you got Rayfield Wright or somebody, giving you an autograph or an autograph football at the same time, right? So where now you're lucky if you get a couple weeks off after Super Bowl. Or really, if you don't make the Super Bowl itself or the playoffs, that's kind of your break. You're going to get a break during the playoffs. And then about 2 weeks after Super Bowl, it's kind of like, okay, now I got to get motivated again to get back in the fight, to get going. Because I used to tell everybody in when I was in the corporate world, 250 people, sales force, I would say, could you imagine if every late summer I brought in another 250 people to sit at your desk to compete with your job, and then at the end of like 8 weeks, we'll figure out who the 250 that get to stay. How much more would you work? How much harder will you work at keeping your job here and being efficient? Right?
And that's exactly it. I mean, it's mentally it will drain you.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a passion for it, but it definitely killed it my first year, just because again I had adversity from the very get-go from never playing center in my life.
From snapping the ball over Russell Wilson. Hell, let's talk about that real quick. So your first time you get to snap, though, let's get back to that real quick.
Was it always long snap, or did you do short snap too?
Just short snap, just a
quarterback. You never did the to the kicker,
the long snap,
or the punter.
Snap,
no. That's a completely different snapper.
Yeah,
that's a completely different animal within itself.
I was okay at it, but not to the point where these guys are just throwing spirals.
They're dialed in.
Oh, they're
dialed in.
Yeah, man. They can hit a little quarter.
Incredible.
Which I don't want to say nothing, but LP LaDucier from Cowboys. He's now LP's now at my Pilates studio. I ran into LP last week. So, because I did a late morning one. I did an 8:30 or something, and he was coming in at the 9:30 to do the yoga to get the stretch.
Let me ask you something. How does that make you feel when our brother TK? We love him. We don't judge. You know what I'm saying? We're not judging anything. But, he gets his nails done and he goes to Pilates. Does that settle well? Don't tell me you get your nails done. Don't tell me, please don't.
Oh, God, no. I've never done any of that.
Thank you,
I've never got my,
Bro, these guys don't bend like quarterbacks and TKs, right? They don't bend like that.
We're going.
My grandfather was he would, because, again, he was probably one of my other father figures that I had in my life. And, he was old school. And, it was dirt on the nails and stuff like that.
Part of it is, I mean, I actually have an ex-NFL athlete that actually trains me. But, the biggest part of why I got Pilates is, number one, just spend time with Mama.
Yep.
We do it we would go every morning, 6 a.m., me and her. And that's kind of what,
I do Pilates too.
Yeah, that's kind of how we started today. But the thing with Pilates is what I found out after starting to do it is like, man, my aches and pains are a lot less.
Yep.
Now that I'm more stretched and flexibility and yoga and then the other thing is like where we always kid about the nails, like I would sit in so usually on Saturday morning I'll take my wife, get her nails, but I would just sit in the truck for an hour, social media, maybe walk over and grab a coffee, but it's just waiting on her, right? And then one day she was like, why don't you come in and get your nails done? I'm like, not happening. And she was like, they give you it's like 9 a.m. like they're just opening. She's like, they'll give you free champagne in there, right? Or beer or whatever you want.
The phone dropped to the ground.
And I'm literally like, well, you know what? I'll come in and try this thing. Yeah. And then, then it became fun because, again, me and her just have a glass of champagne because usually we're out doing something fun on a Saturday if we have time together. So it's kind of was the kickoff party to okay, let's go do what we're doing, right? And but it just became a thing where now it's funny because she just went and got her nails done Saturday. We were at Miracle League and the girls were like, where's Mr. TK at? You never bring him anymore. She's like, he's in the middle of Miracle League season right now. And they're like, he don't come anymore. He can come without you. And she's like, no, he'll come with me. He's almost ready to get back into it. But again, it's more of just relaxing with Mama, right? And it's the other thing we talk about, like, man, find something that, because we're so busy in our schedules, that you can just do something with your wife just one-on-one. and even
tough.
just getting nails done, is just, and people don't realize either, like how relaxing that stuff. Like really, by the time that lady's done after a couple glasses of champagne, I really just want to go home and go take a nap because you're just like so relaxed afterwards.
I just give them crap. I want to go do the steam yoga classes.
Yeah, well, I
do
was
the
telling
yoga.
Rocky, like,
Yeah,
dude,
yeah,
bro,
the
like
yoga's-
what it's going to do for your body is
Yeah,
phenomenal.
100%.
What it does to help your body overall, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely with you on like the Pilates and all that kind of stuff. Like it's just like this because Pilates is such a small movements, but it's just. But those movements over 30 seconds, man,
Right.
it burns everything.
Oh, I've been doing it.
I don't even know what it
I'm,
is.
I'm over. I'm probably
that's
about my
crazy.
15th month of it. We started in January of last year,
No, I'm sure.
and
it's
we
a
haven't
huge
missed. And
difference.
I pretty much go 5 days a week unless I'm out of town, and then I go do my workout.
Does it help
afterwards.
mentally?
I love it. I mean,
Spiritually?
my favorite class in high school was PE and boy sports. So for me to get a couple of what I call PE classes in the morning before I even start my day, like again, I control my schedule. Nobody controls my schedule. So, by probably 9:30 in the morning, I've already knocked out 2 workouts, and I'm mentally clear, and I'm kind of gassed up, and my energy level's high. So it really kind of helps me for my whole day. Right?
TK's first 4 hours of school was weight training, recess, weight training,
Pretty close.
and gym.
Like my junior and senior year is pretty close. Of like, first of all, what I got first hour, I'm not even going to first hour.
Yeah.
Like, it was just a joke, really. I mean, it was about PE classes and boy sports, and that and girls is what actually, if we didn't have that, if I'd have went to an all boys school, I'd have dropped out probably 6th grade. So. But again, we're getting back to where we should be talking. So you get out there for preseason, never played center. You got Russell Wilson behind you. You've got and you came to a great team too.
Yeah,
like it wasn't like you came to some.
up.
Yeah, you were loaded at that time when you came.
We had we had a bunch of great guys, and a lot of them I still in contact with to this day. I mean, probably some of my closest buddies are on that team. They used to play. I mean, now they're all retired. KJ Wright was probably the last guy that, a pretty good buddy of mine that I just. He retired, and I don't think there's anyone else on that team that's been on. I think there might be a couple of them, but
Not very many.
no, there's not very many. But yeah, but we were loaded up. I mean, it was really cool, kind of seeing all that stuff, and but yeah, I mean, I snapped the ball, Russell, and seeing how that went. And I had a ball boy behind him catching my. Oh yeah, it was nuts. I was horrible at it. One skipping on the ground, and he just would let the ball boy kind of get him, and he would just kind of, if it skipped on the ground, he'll let him get it. He wouldn't
even move. He'd
no.
just be like, chase it.
You're not. Your snap is not worthy.
Right. So you literally. So you got your first. Who was your starting center again? Max.
Max.
Yeah, Max was your
Unger,
starter,
yeah.
and then you had probably a couple other free agents that they might have brought in as center as well, right?
Well, yeah, we had Russell Kung, Breno. We had a lot of the O lineman was stacked.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we had
Yeah.
J.R. Sweezy too, and then
But how many centers do you think we're trying out for that team that year?
6. I
So
think
you had
centers
6
from
of
the
them.
get-go, from undrafted free agents and
Yeah.
just free agents.
And
in
you're the only
general.
guy that can't get it to Russell.
Oh God, I was after the first day, they realized how bad I was. I mean, they knew that. I didn't know that,
Right.
but they were expecting that.
Was
Right.
it down to the only opportunity you have with the team is making that position?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Plus, on top of 6 other people,
Which is
going for the
crazy
spot.
because when I was I was a pretty good.
Well, wait a minute. Excuse me. Out of 6, you want 2 of them are like your first and second stringers. They're they're already on the squad.
Yep.
Right. So now it's down to the final 4. Right.
Yeah.
And you're only carrying 3 centers on the team at best anyway, right?
Yeah. I mean, we had probably 20 something O linemen, probably 30 O linemen we started with, and then we had narrowed down to I think maybe 12.
Yeah. So out of those 4 guys that are in camp,
Oh yeah.
only one of those 4 are making it. The other 2 are guaranteed they're
Yeah.
in, right? So you got 6 guys going out for center. 2 of them are in. The other 4 is like who's fighting for third string. And then you're in there, can't snap a ball to the quarterback, while the other guys played center in college.
Oh, these guys
That
are
were great.
free
That
agents
were
that were
doing-
not drafted were just laughing at me.
Yeah,
I mean,
and they're all laughing at him
respectfully
like-
so though.
Right.
You know?
Right.
I mean, it was, I mean, from the very get-go, I mean, I just knew, I was like, all right, my time here is going to be short. I might as well enjoy it,
But that's a powerful testament, though. If you really think about this now, you made it. You were good enough to make it onto an
Yeah.
NFL field, whether it be for a tryout or not, whatever it may be. I mean, when I was playing semi-pro, what the guys would do to get that opportunity just to make it to a tryout
yeah.
to the Packers
Yeah.
or something, But in that position, you made it to that point, but then they did that twist on you, and then they put so much more pressure on you than probably anybody else on that entire team.
What you just heard him say is like, you know what? He took all the pressure off himself. Where a lot of people end up getting stuck in between here, right? And then they add extra pressure on. His mindset was like, I'm happy I'm here. I'm probably not going to make this team. I'm just going to go out and give 110% every day. I'm going to keep learning until they get rid of me. And what happened? He made it.
I did.
Was it the mentality right there? This is what got you through?
It did. It's definitely overwhelming for sure, because it's just, the adversity was at first was just killing me, because, I mean, I'm starting from scratch with these guys who have been playing this position their whole life. They were like, "Oh, you don't know how to pass that? You don't know how to?" I'm like, "No, I don't know how to do any of that."
And first of all, you get snaps just the first problem. The second problem is reading who do I block, because a lot of times the center's calling out. The lineman calls too at the same time, right? The center is.
Oh yeah, you're going to do a they'll say AAA, which is a block, B block, C, like all this kind.
I'll be like, that way, bro?
Well, it's kind of funny. So my little brother, Greg, he was all-world coming out of high school in Missouri. I mean, he set tons of state records, you name it, and he played receiver. At my high school, we ran a full backfield. We either ran a T formation or we ran, what
Old
most
school,
people call wishbone. We had one receiver.
Wishbone.
You had like one receiver out here, right? And that was my little brother, and he was also all-state safety, I think, at the time, too. Or deep. Anyway, he made all-state both ways 3 years in a row, but... So he's just one guy here on, no man's island, and it's literally like run the fly, run the post, and the quarterback's go throw it, go get it, right? So he goes to Southeast Missouri State on a scholarship, and they're like XYZ, right? From a receiver standpoint, he's going. They're like, come on, go the X, and he's going, where's the X, right? And it was just so atrocious that, it was trying to figure out what is XYZ, right? Yeah. And from a receiver standpoint, an offensive guy standpoint, who, if you play nowadays, you're laughing hearing this, right? But it
like
got
wishbone. I haven't heard wishbone forever.
Yeah, first of all, they're going wishbone. What's this guy even talking about? But or the power T or the power I formation. It was one of the 4 or 5 combos of 3 running backs, right? And so it got so bad that they ended up kicking him over to defense, because the head coach Mumford is like, didn't you play defense too? He's like, yes, sir. I was all-state safety. Great. Go to defense. Yeah. Like this is, I can't even do it no more with you, right? And then he ends up being All-American safety at South. It all turned out. But it was just hilarious, because he's like, dude, I got there. Like, they're like, go the X. I'm like, where's that? Go the Y.
See, I think I was thankful that my coaches understood where I was and that I would be in the position I am.
Right.
So they understood that it was going to take patience.
Right. And they already had 2 studs in front of you, so they knew, like, from what he has, so his skills from his footwork, mentality of being able to push, all these things they're looking at. They're like, he'll figure out how to snap. He'll figure all this out. It's hard to train this. Right.
It was the more mental thing that I felt it was tough, because you had as a center, you're like the brains of it. You have to see everything. And
you're like the middle linebacker for defense.
Oh, yeah.
Calling out.
These guys are, guys like Max Unger, Travis Frederick. All these guys were stupid smart. Crazy smart. Probably some of the most intelligent guys.
What was it like on the other spectrum, on the other side, when you went to offense, and then now you're looking at guys that want to chew on your soul like a piece of bubble gum?
I felt dumb at first, because when I was on defense, I always thought linemen were like these dumb big
big old country dumb. pretty much exactly what you fit into. Big old country dumb bumpkins. And
but then I'm kind of looking at it on the other side now. I'm like, man, the D linemen are morons.
They're stupid,
They're so stupid.
These guys don't even know anything. Well, I remember Andre Gerard, who, even before Travis Frederick and those boys came in, 5-time Pro Bowler. Yeah. As a center, Tony would call something or change an audible, and Dre would start hollering from the line, you can't run that.
Yeah, Tony's
they were, and Tony's super, but they would always go back and forth as a center and quarterback. Because he would see one thing, Dre would see another thing. Yeah. And Dre would go back and huddle like, dude, why did you call, like, do you see what happened like that, And from a quarterback standpoint, so did you ever have those type of where, your quarterback's on one page, your center is going, hold on, this ain't what you want to be calling right now, or
so yes and no, but a lot of those guys like Tony. I mean, I played my last year here with Dallas was when Dak's first year, Tony's last.
Yeah,
and it was my last year.
Yeah,
the mindset that Tony had in it was just, I mean, he just made things easy.
Tony's so freaking smart. Like he's literally a coach on the field. Honestly, I mean, you can see that even after his broadcasting, where he's just up there eating some Frito chips or something. Like, okay, here's what's getting ready to happen on. As soon as he sees formation, he already can pretty much call the play out. Where Jim Nance is going, wow,
he's just so calm, collective, just a cool guy.
Yeah,
like he's just like nothing will rattle him almost.
And that's why he's so good. I mean, you see him playing these pro-ams in golf and everything else, right? He's just out there.
That's why he is so good at golf, because he knows how to be that cool, calm, collective guy.
He keeps himself out of between his ears, right? He goes with what's natural, what's easy, what does he know.
He's just, I mean, that was a pretty eye-opening thing, because you can see a lot of quarterbacks get kind of, they can get upset, like, dude, you missed your block. And Tony will come over and be like, hey, what happened?
Right.
And he'll break it down. He goes, okay, that makes sense. Next time I'll help it with a slide or something like that. He was just so involved in it, not in his position. He was in everyone's position.
Right.
Like that was eye-opening.
I think that's what makes a champion quarterback, though, the understanding of every faction out on that field,
Well, it's kind of, so Isaiah Stanback, who's family, as you know. So when Isaiah came here, it was Romo. Actually, it might have been Bledsoe, then Romo. I can't remember. He came here pretty close at that time. But then he went from Romo to Eli Manning to Tom Brady to Russell Wilson was his final year at his hometown Seattle Seahawks. And so, being an ex-quarterback as well, I always love having those conversations like, okay, out of those four, like, who was your man? Because they're all – they're all Hall of Famers in my book, honestly.
I definitely.
Well, a couple of them already. I mean, Eli, I think already is, or he's coming up on it.
I mean, I did play with Romo and Russell, so I mean, I know how that's like too. I mean, they're completely two different mindsets. I mean, you can tell, Russell's that he can pump anyone.
Right.
I mean, that's a guy, like, if it's a fourth quarter or something like that, he'll just say something and everyone just.
Well, that's why you see him in the Broncos this last year, it's just a horrendous season, right?
Well,
and dude, that's not Russell Wilson's fault.
Yeah, it's not. That's
a coaching. That's a freaking. We're trying to implement an offense that is not set up for your. Like, why would you take this quarterback who's successful in this offensive scheme, and then go, okay, now we're going to put you this, because I think this is just the offense we want to run. Now we're just going to put you in this one, and nobody can figure out why he's not the Russell Wilson of old days. Now you're going to see with Sean Payton going up there.
Yeah.
When everybody's already writing Russell Wilson off, I promise you, watch out for the Broncos this year.
Oh,
I guarantee you Russell Wilson probably almost has a Pro Bowl type season.
I agree.
Right?
I mean, I definitely think that we're seeing – I think Russell Wilson had two sides of him. Back in his younger years, the dude was a running gunner.
Right.
I mean, he was a triple threat.
Well, if it's not there, I'm out of here.
Kaepernick
if it's not there, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, we were blocking – I mean, that was probably one of my worst times blocking. It was just because the plays went for so long. I mean, the great thing about Tony and those pocket passers is like it was like 1, 2, 3 out.
Well, because Tony had a a better read, I think, of the defense. Tony could read the defense.
He didn't want to roll out of the pocket.
So and he knew that. It's like, oh my God, hold on, balls, because we got to go for it, right?
Yeah.
But Tony was more like a Jim McMahon. Like, if I could read you, I could beat you. So his mindset was he already knew. Here's 1, here's 2.
Right.
And then, God forbid, if I'm in, hopefully 3's open by now. I'm going to have to run. Tony already knows this by the time he's even at the line, right? Where also with Russell, too, he's a little bit shorter. So even if a 1 or 2, he might have to tuck, but he can run back here forever.
He's a playmaker waiting for a safety to fall out.
That's all. He's waiting for somebody to get tired.
Yeah. All of his big plays were done on these runs that he would run on the one side of the field, run back, and for some reason the safety didn't see the receiver going on top of him and a wide open play.
I'm sitting here listening to you guys, and it's like I'm from the outside scope. So many people that live on this planet have no idea the mechanics behind the scenes of football. Like you're talking about, it's for a good quarterback. We reference all these greats, but you look at the years they have in the NFL, and it took all those years to gain that experience and understanding of the game for them to be able to make the reads that they make. You're waiting for a safety to slip. I mean, it's amazing, bro.
I mean, one of my biggest things I've seen while I was playing is just seeing the connection that the receivers and the quarterbacks have. I mean, they're like reading minds. I mean, they really are. They know exactly.
Like you see Pat Mahomes, he's over here. Him and Kelsey and them boys are throwing on here all season long. They're together all off season. They're always throwing together. Yep. You see what happened with Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. This last season, his draft picks, and he was like, I'm not going to have time to work out in this offseason. I'm over here. And then by the time they got to camp, they were on no page. And then when they finally got on the page, it was about mid-season. Then they got red hot. The Packers did, right?
Yeah.
And that's why those quarterbacks, and like you said, them quarterbacks and receivers are just so important to just be out there throwing daily.
I mean, there's a lot of big issues with what Rodgers had. It was more of a coaching versus player standpoint for sure. I mean, he was just not in it. You can tell. I mean, it just.
Well, when you start the season, it's like, I can't remember the number 9 they drafted. I love him. He's a good receiver, but he drops a wide open touchdown first game. I mean, and it just kind of, those things started trickling everybody. I mean, how many balls did his receivers drop the first 3 or 4 games?
But that's
like
where the psychology comes into the game,
Well, then you look, if you're having fun, positive things keep coming to you, right? And that's the other thing with Romo. He always was out there having fun.
Always
right?
fun.
He's always
fun.
having fun.
Yep.
Even in bad times, he's still, and his mindset is, I'm going to get this touchdown. I'm going to get this done. His mindset is always from a positive standpoint. Like
it is.
Like when he goes up and hits a shot, he truly expects it. If it's a par 3, he expects it to go in the hole. Like if he's hitting a 9-iron, he expects that ball to be in the hole. He is more upset if he's a foot away from that hole that it wasn't a hole in one.
He visualizes every single thing he does.
Oh yeah,
he knows exactly. He knows, like, before he throws the ball, he knows exactly. He can picture exactly how that ball's going to fly. Everything.
I used to go play basketball with him, Creighton, T.O. up at 24-hour Fitness. And even watching him play hoops, he was such just a beast of an athlete. Yeah. That you're just kind of sitting back going, did I just actually see that? Like, it's just 24-hour pickup, but it's like, did he just throw that?
He's super athletic and super good at a lot of things that he does. I mean, it's like him playing golf was like super impressive. Him playing, like watching him shoot around was super impressive. A lot of the stuff that he did was just like, he was just a natural at everything he did.
Well, and everybody's so competitive, right? I remember Isaiah Stanback would come to the house and he'd play my oldest son was probably, 11 or 12, play Madden. And I mean, it's all out. And if he lost, it was literally like, I'm out of here, right? I mean, like we'd tease him. I'd tease him like, you want to go again? He'd just be like, you know what I'm saying? And it's funny because the competitiveness of, just every pro athlete. I mean, if you don't have that, then you're not going to be, in my book, winning anyway. If you're just out there for a paycheck, it shows. Yeah,
you have to have a drive. I mean, a lot of these guys that I witnessed, probably one of the coolest things is, like I said was before, like these guys were playing 7+ years. Seeing what they did before practice and after practice, and you see everyone else walking off the field, and these guys are still working craft.
Still putting work
in. The little tiny things, like Earl.
It's always the little tiny things.
Earl Thomas was out there before every practice, and after practice, he would be out there just working on just his hands, just doing stuff like just simple stuff.
When we showed up at my practice, our captain would be out on the field, literally wearing the old Vietnam War veteran era combat boots with his football uniform on turf, practicing alone. And we all were like, it was almost kind of scary, but there was this weird thing that he just automatically separated himself to be completely dialed in differently. You know?
I mean, just seeing these guys work their craft is what I saw that. A lot of people didn't. They just like, all right, practice over, we're going in, shower, hot tub, meetings, eat, kind of thing. And I'm just sitting there and myself, like, I was like, I'm snapping balls over quarterbacks' heads. I don't feel like I should be going in the locker room satisfied with. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to outstay Earl Thomas, Cam Chancellor, and Russell. And they're always out there for probably an hour after practice. And, I just stayed after, and I just did not leave until I was the last one on that field. And it pissed people off. It did. Because I was like, if these guys
because you're making them now they're going, yes, this guy is out there working, we're not working. This guy ain't coming with our flow.
Well, these older guys are out there working. Like, it's just like, I mean, I'm kind of copying them in a way, but I don't have the ability to be able to just get off the field and just be like, okay, I'm good. Like, I was not good enough to do that. These guys are out there working mastercraft and their whole thing. And I just felt like, you know what, I should be working my craft and getting better. And, you know, so if anything happens, like my whole life is revolved on, listen, I'm going to give it everything I got. And if I do that, I will have zero regrets of anything I do.
Right.
Because I literally gave it my all.
Right.
And that's how that's how I've based my whole life off of. And you know, it pays off, but it's just, you know, seeing these guys working their craft and I'm out there trying to do my thing and just practicing, and it helped. And it just allowed me to become a better player and be able to kind of absorb a lot of the stuff on my own. So I'm just not like, you know, you have one rep, you go behind the line, you get another rep. Here I'm just getting constant reps. And that really helped.
Who is your favorite coach to play for?
Dan Quinn, and I would say Jason Garrett. I mean, all of them. Pete Carroll was
Pete
great.
Carroll's fun.
They're all different. I mean, they're just all different. I mean,
So now Isaiah Stanback told me his favorite place to actually play outside the Cowboys, where he's drafted, but he's like the atmosphere to play was up in Seattle because Pete Carroll turned the music on. Everybody was kind of having fun while we were still practicing. It was a completely different animal. He's like,
people were shooting hoops in the meetings and stuff. They would like Carroll would have
super
a ball.
loose.
Everyone would be having team meeting in the big. We had all like seats, and everyone was sitting there. He would randomly throw a ball to you, and you have to take a shot in front of everyone. If you missed, everyone just laughing. Oh, you'll get it all. And
then like Cowboys, you know, he had Parcells, and then you know Parcells came in, took all the TVs out of the locker room, turned the training room down to freezing. I mean, the trainers, Jimmy and them guys were in there wearing parkas, and you know, then he had Wade Phillips come in. Then he's like, then you're a Belichick, and he's like, you know, I love playing for Bill. And then same thing, he was I think a Pac-10, whatever University of Washington was, but he's quarterback his whole 4 years of career, and then he gets drafted as receiver.
Yeah.
So and I'm coming to a team that has T.O., Patrick Creighton, Terry Glenn, like they're stacked at receiver. And he's like, so now I'm trying to catch up with those guys. And then when he went from the Giants to Patriots, Bill Belichick brought him in as quarterback.
Yeah.
So now he's played like 5 seasons as a receiver, and Belichick's bringing him back in as a quarterback to be quarterback. Yeah. You know, behind Brady. So now he's like, I'm in a film room with Brady and listening to him too as a quarterback, which really helped me when I went back to Seattle as a receiver and kick returner, I think he was. But it's just so interesting. I mean, that's what I love asking the guys, like just the experiences of like, you know, we're trying to, you know, where people are trying to beat Belichick to work.
Yeah. I mean, I think Dan Quinn, great, amazing coach. I mean, that dude he's just so on it. I mean, the things that he put into the team, I mean, you can tell he changed because the atmosphere before him was, you can tell, was like an old school kind of thing. He was trying to bring in a combo of both with what Pete Carroll offered. And all
just
that.
a discipline side of, you know, it was just accountability more than anything, right?
100%.
It's not yelling, screaming. It's just, you're going to do your job or I got to get rid of you. Right.
And I've respected that 100%. I mean, he was probably one of my favorite coaches. And then, because he implemented both sides. You can tell the people who were on the season before him that, you know, they were a lot more relaxed because they felt like they were able to kind of just not be as stressed with it, you know. But when I came here to Dallas, I mean, this is the other side of things, you know, with all in all, this is probably one of the most, you're loved. I mean, it's amazing how the fans are amazing. Everyone is, I mean, I know Jason Garrett was like he does not sugarcoat kind of guy. I like that.
I do too.
And he was just, and he taught me to love football again after that.
Jason was a lot same way because he was a player.
Yeah.
So he went from being a player, sitting on that side of the fence, to assistant coach, being a head coach. So, you know, he had a lot of Jimmy Johnson, I think, from a standpoint of, here's your job.
Yeah.
You know, but I get it. You know, I know where you're at because I've been there. So you have to get your job done to stay here.
Yeah.
Right?
There was a lot of
but I'm going to love you. We're going to have fun.
They're going to have fun.
Time.
That's exactly what it was. It was a mix of both. And that's what kind of made it fun for me, because there were times that he would just mess around and he would just joke. He'll joke with you. And Jerry Jones, I mean, is probably, he made that feel so like a very comfortable place. I mean, what he has done is,
once you put that star on your helmet, you're family.
Oh, it's
almost like the Raiders. I mean, you could play 1 year at the Raiders and you're Raider for life.
Yeah, and that's honestly how it was. And it's just, I never understood that, because he really had the time to, come over and talk to me and ask how my wife was doing. And, a guy like that, you would never think that it was like, why does he care about my wife?
It's important how something so simple can go so far. You know what I'm saying?
His kids, Steven and Charlotte, all those guys,
Brother,
amazing.
I don't mean to cut you off. We got about 5 minutes, but I have a question that I wanted to ask. Maybe a little pushy. I don't know if it's even the right question to ask, but I want to ask this. In college right now, they're starting to open up the opportunities for some college players to make some financial gains, right?
Yeah.
Now, I'm conflicted on that because I hear some stories where these football players are literally starving because they're not making any money, right? So this, I don't even want to give an opinion.
Yeah,
but,
not as much anymore. But
my overall question, though, is that, so we're doing this now in the colleges. At the professional level, when we have certain players that are paid per performance, do you think that takes away the team mentality because you have somebody who needs specific statistics in order for them to get the paycheck they want?
In college, are you saying college-wise?
Or professional? Yeah.
I'll give both. I mean, college-wise, I kind of agree with it almost to a point because a lot of these guys, I mean, these colleges make a fortune on it. I mean, don't get me wrong.
That's what I'm saying.
And they don't have a career afterwards. I mean, they gives them the ability to be able to,
So they make a fortune for the university, and then they go back to
right, and they get a full ride. I'd rather be like, hey, you pay me, and I'll pay for my own college because I'll make more. And it makes sense in my mind. I mean, I was in a smaller college, so I never had to deal with. But I mean, a lot of that stuff I can see a mixture of both. They can take that if you have the wrong attitude because it's your younger kid with a lot of money. You can do stupid things. I mean,
some of these kids get squeezed dry.
A lot of people have done it. Everyone does it.
So toxified by that business aspect of the sport that they lose all the interest that they had their whole life for the game.
Well, I mean, knowing how big social media is now versus when I was, I mean, that changes a lot of things too because you can get caught red-handed doing anything stupid. I mean, it's just back then, I mean, we got money from college and we would just get beer, go down fishing.
I don't know. That sounds like a good day to me, brother.
You know what I'm saying?
So, brother, how can people follow you? Instagram, Facebook? Tell everybody how they can follow you or meet you at a lake somewhere and drop a line. We didn't even get to talk about fishing.
No, we're going to. We're going to go fishing with him for sure. I mean, we've been
goodness.
talking about it for a while about catching up and go do a little bass fishing, which I want to, but it's just trying to get my schedule one day matched up with his one day that we can actually meet to go.
Tell us what you want for lures, and I will start painting. I'll have my son paint some for us, and we'll use.
I use a bunch of everything, man. It just depends on the season, lake, everything.
See, I don't know none of that. I know none of that. I'm just like,
all
give me one.
I'm literally the guy at Walmart going, "Where's those little white jigs?"
I'm like,
I
oh,
need
that one
those.
looks
That's
really
what I need,
cool,
the
man.
jigs.
Yeah, it kind of looks like a real fish. I'll use that one.
And then Kelly Jordan's like, "You don't catch big fish with small lures," and that's when I was like, "Okay."
Yeah, that's a big Texas mentality when it comes to fishing down here. Yeah,
you got to go big to catch big.
Yeah,
it seems
that's
like
definitely for sure.
I do want to go gar fishing though.
It's fun.
I'm not.
It's fun.
I'm out.
Why? We can hug it together and do a group picture.
Crappie, or deep sea. We can go to Destin and we go do some deep sea fishing, which is fun. I'll do that.
Deep sea fishing is fun.
Yeah, I'll go do some deep sea fishing. That's fun.
Though.
Gar fishing is like,
bro. Can we go gar fishing?
It's like sturgeon fishing almost.
Yeah.
If you've never been sturgeon fishing, it's like.
I mean, it's a good fight. You're going to fight it.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, it's kind of one of those things you sit there wait, and then when you do, it's just like you're gonna feel it after you catch it.
I'm all about it, brother. I'm all about it. Yeah, I watch some of those guys take hours to get it in on shore.
Oh yeah, it's nuts.
And listen, don't worry about his social media. Rocky's going to post everything. Yep. Just go to battlescarspodcast.com. You'll see everything. Find Jared. I'm even more upset we didn't get a chance to talk about your wife. So no,
I can bring her in next.
No, that's okay. We need to because what I want to do is I do want to get a blurb on his wife and how special she is, how great she is.
She's
on his profile as well, so they can at least you guys can catch up to how awesome his wife is, and her social media will be put up there as well.
Yes.
And I was going to bring something up mid-show because TK and I, we talk a lot of crap and we act super tough sometimes. I know we feel good about it, but when we go home, things change when we walk in that door, and all of a sudden it's yes, ma'am.
You have to be calm and collective around it. I mean,
they kind of scare us.
After a long day of work, you don't want to stress anyone out.
Not at all.
You're just like, I'm go with the flow.
Yep.
Yeah, I've been fishing all day. Why do I want to ruin my, nice, calm, cool, collective?
Just whatever Mama wants.
Whatever Mama wants. That's what we're doing.
She does. She is a big fisherman, but it's hard because we have we have a 1-year-old too.
Yeah.
So
You have a
obviously-
4-year-old, a 1-year-old.
4-year-old and
You
a
got the
1-year-old.
baby girl and the boy, right?
No,
Or
two
both
girls.
Yeah,
Two girls,
two
yeah.
girls. That's right. Okay.
Feel sorry for
So
the boyfriends.
it's definitely
Oh God, Jesus! I don't even want to think about that right now. Those poor boys.
So we're gonna go fishing.
yeah.
We're gonna do a cool sizzle reel. But yeah, I will make sure to get a blurb. Let's get the wife in here with you again,
Hands down.
and we could talk anything that you want. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate each and every one of you for hanging out with us. Brother Jared Smith hanging out with Battle Scars today, producing the show. In the back there, we got our man Ron Phillips.
Beautiful Ron.
We got TK, Jared Smith, Battle Scars Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of our family, much love, much respect. May God bless you. May God bless the United States of America. And ladies and gentlemen, never forget rule number 1. Don't take shit from nobody. Love you guys.